Hello, teachers and friends. Today, I, along with Favitra, Sean, and Chloe, will be presenting about our research in Task 1. We are going to be looking at formulating, devising a plan, carrying out the plan, the real world context, reflection, and finally, the extended task. Before starting with the task, we analyze what was given and what the question wanted. We understand that there was a low birth rate in Singapore since the expense to raise a child in Singapore is very high, causing many couples to be hesitant about raising a child. If a parent does decide to raise a child, they should start planning out how much they should save in order to not struggle in the future. In this last one, we have to find out how much a family with a child needs to save up to the age of 7. Due to our research, we found out that diapers, clothes, food, infant care, kindergarten, non-consumables such as cribs and prams, along with additional classes, are all factors that must be considered as these are essential for a child's daily life to age 7. However, we decided not to include factors such as toys, pediatrician visits, and childcare, as we don't think it's necessary to calculate these into the equation. In order for us to simplify the solving this problem, we had to list our assumptions for an accurate calculation. Firstly, we assume that the baby is breastfed for 6 months and is Singaporean. Secondly, we will assume that both parents are working and will need to receive help from outside sources to look after a kid until the kid starts going to kindergarten. We also assume that the child goes for at least 1 to 2 additional classes and the child is born on the first gen, thus no primary school fares are included. Additionally, we will be assuming that the government will give a baby bonus of 11,000. Next, the child brings food from home to school, so that the parents do not need to provide pocket money for the child to buy food in school every week. Last but not least, no phone is given to a child.
Now we came out with a mathematical formula for us to calculate. Our mathematical formula is E times bracket 1 plus I to the power of Y, where E stands for average yearly expense, I stands for expected inflation rate, and Y stands for the child's age. There were a few factors that we considered for our calculation, which are the consumables such as diaper, baby milk, the clothings, meals, infant care, education, which is kindergarten in this case, and finally 2 additional classes. First, we added the savings for the child till age 2, which are consumables, clothes, baby food, infant care, so it will be 1,980 plus 300 plus 1,200 plus 18,000 equals to $21,480. Next, till the age up to 4, we added consumable, clothes, meals, and infant care, which is 1,980 plus 300 plus 2,400 plus 18,000, which adds up to $20,700. Finally, till the age of 6, which is the last day before the child turns 7 on January 1, we added clothes, meals, kindergarten fee, and a fee of 2 additional classes. This would be 300 plus 2,400 plus 1,920 plus 17,800, which adds up to $22,420. Now, with these calculated amounts, we added them together to find the average yearly expense, and we got $22,193.33. This is a graph on how much a parent has to save each year with the inflation rate being included. We chose the inflation rate to be 3%. With the formula, we substituted the numbers in for each year. In the end, as a total, we got $386,349.89. Next, this is the bar graph of total expenses for each year. However, even with the assumptions, there are limitations. We knew that it is not possible for a child to not use public transport at all. There will be instances where a child will start to use the bus and taxi for convenience, but we did not add a transport fee per week for the child. At the same time, it is not possible for the parent to always give food to school as parents are working too. It might be tiring for the parents to always cook. The family might have to buy food from outside, but its cost was not calculated. Moreover, from our calculations, we had more assumptions that there are no extra fees like medical emergencies Overseas trips are not included. Educational items are not included, such as reading books, practice books, pen, pencil. Cost of uniform is not included. Non-consumables when the baby is 1 to 3 years old, such as crib, milk bottles, pram, are not included.
Even when we have assumptions, there are constraints as the child grows. Firstly is the affordability. This depends on the financial situation and budget of the child's parents. As the child grows, it would want to spend more on the things under the influence of friends. Similarly, as the child gets more matured, it would expect birthday parties and etc. This will affect the parents' budget as such parties need location to be booked and necessary items such as decorative items have to be bought. Next concern is the inflation and cost of education. Cost of education and living expenses are increasing over time, and we think that it should not be left unbothered as it will make a difference in future savings. Final concern is the child's needs. Since there is a limited budget for meals, the child may not be able to consume certain foods, especially the expensive ones. Secondly, at the age of 6, when the child is mature enough, they might not want to go to the extra classes that their parents have joined them in. They might want to choose a different class based on their interests. For example, the parents might have sent their child to a music class, but the child might be interested in arts too. Hence, the child might want to join art class too. This then affects the budget as expenses for these additional classes may not be calculated. Thirdly, when the child is getting older, they will tend to consume more food as their body is growing, and this might cause the amount of money needed for the child's meals to increase, or the child might not want to eat the things that are bought for them to eat, and it might get wasted. This will result in the money spent going to waste as well as the money was spent on something that did not get consumed.
However, in the real world context, the parents might not have to face so much struggle. This is because the government can provide financial assistance to the families that are struggling through subsidies. In Singapore, the education system aims to bring out the best in every child. It also aims to help students discover and make the best of their own talents. It also helps them to realize their full potential and develop a passion for lifelong learning. Next, the government can decrease the prices of things that are commonly bought by families, as lower prices make essential goods and services more affordable for families, especially those with lower incomes. Now, let's look at what parents can do. Firstly, the parents should teach the child what their wants and their needs are, and tell their child that satisfying their needs is more important than satisfying their wants. For example, children nowadays are being influenced by their friends and want to buy whatever their friends have. Thus, when parents teach them on what their wants and their needs are, children will be more aware of spending money and will grow to be a better person. This can also allow the parents to save some money and not buy unnecessary things that their child does not need. Next, the parents can ask the child what they like and not like, so that the parents can buy the things the child will actually consume and use to not waste the money spent on the things the child actually does not like. Finally, the most important person to help the parents not to go over the budget is the child. The child should control his or her desire for things that are not needed and avoid wanting too much of them. He or she should be less picky and accept the things given to them and be glad that they have this luxury. Children who understand the value of what they have and the effort it takes to provide for them are more likely to develop financial awareness and responsibility. They learn to respect the resources available and may be less likely to demand unnecessary or extravagant items. This will then help the parents to save money and spend the money on other things.
Now, let's look back on whether our data is adequate. Generally, we find that it is adequate as the price of the items bought are reasonable. For example, the fee for kindergarten is 1,920 in Singapore. Next, the information we got from research is from reliable sources, which show the correct estimated amount of money needed for each item. For example, the kindergarten fee was obtained from the MOE website. We've also considered a child wants, such as their interests or talents, and as such, our budget includes the fee for additional classes. so that the child will be able to cultivate their skills. We have even considered the inflation rate, as we know that prices of goods and education have been rising. Thus, we are sure that the budget is enough for the child's expenses from ages 1 to 7 and is well planned out. The assumptions made, however, were unreasonable. Toys should have been included for the baby, as they are essential for the baby as it helps them with their growth. Therefore, it should have been added to our total costs. However, the assumptions made were also somewhat reasonable. One such assumption is that the family will not go on a family trip, as not all families are interested in traveling with.
For the extended task, we are to compare the prices of Singapore and Malaysia. The data that we have collected are as such. From 0 to 1 years old, the expenses consist of childcare, immunizations, checkups, formula milk, food, diapers, clothing, which adds up to 1,090 to 2,250 ringgit per month. For 2 years old to 4 years old, which consists of childcare, food expenses, diapers, clothing, adds up to 940 to 2,070 ringgit per month. For 5 years old to 6 years old, which consists of kindergarten, half-day daycare, school transportation, food expenses, clothing, which adds up to 970 to 1,200 ringgit per month. By calculating the lowest cost throughout the years, we are able to find the average yearly expense, which came down to 13,880 ringgit. And Malaysia's inflation rate is 2.8%. Using this information, we are able to substitute these numbers into our formula, which is E times bracket 1 plus I to the power of y, where E is the average yearly expense, I inflation rate, and y the age. The price compared to Singapore is more. This can be due to the amount of inflation per year, which is 2.77%, higher than Singapore's inflation of 0.03%. This can also be due to the prices of the items bought in Malaysia compared to the prices of the items bought in Singapore.